Namaste, good morning. In this practical session, we are going to learn about the general instructions to the student for safety in the laboratory. So, whenever we went into pathology lab or we are going to enter in a pathology lab, what safety instructions would we have to know or understand before we enter into the pathology lab. So let's start it. The general instructions to the student for safety. So what kind of instructions do we need? First of all, we have to report all the accidents, injuries and breakage of glasses or equipment to the instructor immediately. As soon as there will be any accident or any injuries to the person or student or any breakage of glass or equipment, we have to immediately give this report to the instructor, either lab attendant or to the professor or the laboratory teacher. As soon as there will be breakage of a glass or any injury by any chemical or acid and anything else, any kind of injury will be reported as soon as it will happen. Second is keep pathways clear by placing extra items like books, bags, etc. on the shelves or under the work tables. So we have to clear every pathway and we must put our books and our bags on the shelves or under the table which we are going to write. If under the tables, make sure that these items cannot be stepped on. This must be take in mind that if under the tables we are going to put some extra items like books or bags, make sure these items cannot be stepped on. Third is long hair, chin length or longer, must be tied back to avoid catching fire. In pathology laboratory, like in urine testing, we have to use some fire to do some tests, like in urine examination. So to avoid catching fire for long hairs, especially for girls, we have the long hair must be tied back to avoid catching fire. Now next is wear sensible clothing, including footwear. Do not come to the class without any sensible clothing. You have to protect your body, so for that it is very compulsory for you to wear sensible clothing, especially footwears. Loose clothing should be secure so they do not get caught in a flame or chemicals. Loose clothing must be secure. They must be tight and there is no part of the loose clothing must be there, so they cannot be kept on fire or flame or any chemical will have destroyed them. Now next, work quietly. Work quietly. Know what you are doing by reading the assigned experiment before you start to work. Pay close attention to any cautions described in the laboratory exercise. Before we are going to start any exercise or any laboratory experiment, first we have to understand its theoretical part. We have to understand the theory completely before we are going to enter into the laboratory and do the experiment by hand. So we have to read assigned experiment and before start to work that experiment and pay close attention to the any caution. Especially the cautions we have to take close attention described in the laboratory exercise. In the exercise where the cautions area is written at the end of the experiment, we have to understand and keep mind that these type of situations should be avoided. Do not taste or smell chemicals. Some chemicals, especially acids must not be touched or especially smelled because they can corrode the skin and there will be injury occurred due to these types of chemicals. Wear safety goggles to protect your eyes. You must protect your eyes. For that you have to wear safety goggles. And when heating substance and dissecting something, because when we dissect something, there can be blood which directly put or thrown back to our face or in eyes. So for that purpose we have to protect our eyes for any chemicals or when heating or especially when dissecting something. Now do not attempt to change the position of glass tubing in a stopper. Please try to keep in mind that do not change the positions of glass tubing in a stopper. Never point a test tube being heated at another student or yourself. Never look into a test tube while you are heating it. Whenever we heat the test tube, there must be precautions we have to take, and so most important precaution would be not to keep point the test tubes and at yourself or at another student, because sometimes when heating the test tube with the chemical in it, sometimes when excessive heat is present, then the complete chemical will be expelled out, sometimes forcefully expelled out, and this can injure yourself or to the another student which you are pointing the test tube. And sometimes it is also important not to look directly into the test tube when you heat it. This is also the compulsory. Unauthorized experiment or procedures must not be attended. Unauthorized experiments, procedure which you want to do by yourself, like mixing two chemicals in the laboratory without proper authorization, will be prohibited, and do not attempt it because it may cause injury to you or your lab partner. Now keep solid out of the sinks. Please keep in mind you should clean and wash everything whatever you use, and do not keep solids in the sink. You must keep solid out of the sinks. Leave your workstation clean and in good order before leaving the laboratory. Whatever instruments you are using, either RBC pipette, WBC pipette, hemoglobin pipette, hemoglobin tube, beaker or petri dish or glass slide, anything you have to use for the experiment by yourself or by your lab partner, you have to keep in mind before leaving the laboratory. You have to clean that every single piece of the instrument which you are using so that next time whenever anyone can enter the laboratory to do the experiment, he can use the proper instruments. If you don't wash the instruments clearly or properly, they may stuck into the instrument, and instrument may be not able to use properly. For example, if you do not clean the WBCs or RBC pipette, the blood may be present in that and that may interfere with the experiment or may not be worked properly at the time of experiment. Do not kneel, hang over or sit on the laboratory tables. Do not kneel, hang over or sit on the laboratory table. It is very simple. You don't have to do these type of things because it may cause injury to another person. Sometimes the table can drop and you can also get injured by that. Do not leave your assigned laboratory station without permission of the teacher. Do not go to the another partner if your teacher assigned a workplace for you and your partner. Do not leave the workstation without permission. Like you want to sit with your another laboratory partner and went there and teacher were asking where was the student. So please don't try to leave the assigned laboratory station without the permission of the teacher. Learn the location of fire extinguisher, eye wash station, first aid kit and safety showers. This is the important one because if you get injured by anything, You have to keep in mind the location of the fire extinguisher, oil wash station, and first aid kit and safety shower. Because if fire occur in the laboratory, you must know the location of the fire extinguisher so that you can easily put out the fire if there is no one present in the laboratory. And also, if anything went into your eye, you must know the eye wash station or the sink location so you can go and easily clean your eyes. And also the first aid kit for the same reason. If anybody get injured in the process of experiment, you can take and first aid to the person, and safety shower is the same function. Fooling around or horseplay in the laboratory is absolutely forbidden. Do not fool around in the laboratory. It may harm you, or it may harm your lab partner, or it may harm the whole students in the laboratory. So do not fool around or horseplay in the laboratory. Students found in violation of this safety rule will be barred from participating in future labs and could result in suspension. This is very strict rule that fooling around is prohibited, and students found in violation of this safety rules, they will be barred from participating in the future lab and could result in suspension. Anyone wearing acrylic nails will not be allowed to work with matches, lighten splints, and Bunsen burner. They can catch fire, and it may cause the burning injury to the person. So anyone wearing acrylic nails will not be allowed to work with the matches or fire. Do not lift any solution, glassware, or other type of apparatus above eye level. Do not use this, do not do this. It may cause injury to your eyes. Follow all instructions given by your teacher. This is very important. You must follow all the instructions given by your laboratory teacher. Laboratory assignments must be taken very seriously, and instruction must be taken very seriously. Learn how to transport all materials and equipment safely, because you have to transport materials from one shelf to another shelf on your working station. So you must know how to properly transport these. You must not break the materials or any glassware during the transport process or equipment during the transport process. No eating or drinking in the lab at any time. Drinking and eating in the lab is completely prohibited. And do not try to eat or drink in the laboratory. You came in the laboratory to do the experiment, and you must do the experiment only. Do not drink, do not eat in the laboratory, do not fool around in the laboratory. Okay. So, in next practical, we are going to learn how to estimation of hemoglobin by Sahil's hemoglobinometer. So we are going to learn how to perform the Sahil's hemoglobinometer at the end of the lecture. This is the theoretical part for how to perform the estimation of hemoglobin. Now, estimation of hemoglobin. Aim to determine the degree of anemia from hemoglobin content of the blood. So, the most important thing is what we are going to learn in this lecture, that how to determine the hemoglobin in a given sample of blood. So, we can determine what kind of anemia is present, or anemia is present or not present in a person by the estimation of the hemoglobin content. The principle is hemoglobin present in a sample of blood is converted into acid hematins. This is most important, and every student who is going to perform the practical for the hemoglobin estimation must know the principle, and principle is the hemoglobin present in the given sample of blood is converted into acid hematine, which has a brown color by addition of N by 10 HCl to the blood, and its hemoglobin content is determined by matching the solution against a non-fading colored glass, which we already have present in the science hemoglobinometer equipments. So the student must know what is the principle behind the estimation of Sahi's hemoglobinometer. The examiner asks the question, what is the conversion when N by 10 HCl is added with the blood, or blood is added to the N by 10 HCl, what is happened and what type of formation is occurred? Then the answer will be the acid hematine is hemoglobin is converted into acid hematine, which has a brown color. Now, estimation of hemoglobin, apparatus and reagents, what we are going to need for this type of experiment. First is hemoglobinometer, which consists of hemoglobinometer, Sahil's hemoglobinometer, or equipments which were present with this. First is hemoglobinometer capillary pipette with a mark of 20 cmm or 20 or microliter of the blood. So first we are going to need, the first thing we are going to need is hemoglobinometer capillary or HB capillary tube. Second, what we are going to need is a hemoglobinometer tube which is graduated in percent on one side and gram per 100 ml on the other side. So it is also called diluting tube or hemoglobin tube. So second thing which we are going to need is hemoglobin tube or HB tube. Third is a comparator with a pair of standard non-fading colored glass with a space in between them for the hemoglobinometer tube or HB tube. So a comparator is given with the hemoglobinometer experimental equipment. So the color will be matched with the hemoglobinometer tube and the given sample of the blood. So we can determine how much percent of hemoglobin is present or gram per 100 ml of hemoglobin is present. Third is a glass rod which is used as a stirrer. For that we have to use a stirrer to mix the N by 10 HCl with the blood, and also when we are going to dilute it with the distilled water, we have to add drop by drop dilution distilled water and mix the solution with the stirrer so the proper coloring can be found. Second thing we are going to need is N by 10 hydrochloric acid, a dropper and a distilled water. A hydrochloric N by 10 HCl is needed, dropper is needed to put down drop by drop hemoglobinometer, drop by drop distilled water, and cotton will be needed, rectifying spirit, printing needle or NSAID, spirit lamp or Bunsen burner. These things are needed to do the estimation of hemoglobin. This is the example. This is the photo hemoglobinometer. This is the comparator with a brown glass. Here there is hemoglobin. This is the size graduated hemoglobin tube. This is hemoglobin pipette, and this is the stirrer or glass rod. The hemoglobin tube is gone here, so the color can be matched, and whenever the color is matched, that's the hemoglobin content of the given sample. Now, estimation of hemoglobin by acid hematine method. So now we start the procedure. First, all the apparatus must be cleaned and dried. All the apparatus must be cleaned and dried before starting the experiment. Blood is taken from the left ring finger as usual in the hemoglobinometer pipette exactly up to 20 mm mark or 0.02 mm. First we have to take a cotton and spirit, clean the cotton and spirit with the ring finger on the ring finger. Then we have to prick the ring finger with the lancet or needle. Then we have to use the hemoglobinometer pipette exactly up to 20 mm mark. Any excess of blood is wiped away from the tip of the pipette by holding it horizontally and by dabbing the tip on the finger till the column of blood is exactly at the 20 mm mark. So if we have to use the blood, we have to use the exact amount of blood to use this hemoglobinometer and acid hematine method, otherwise the reading will be inaccurate. So if the excess blood is come into the HB pipette or hemoglobin pipette, we have to wipe the excessive blood out by holding it horizontally and by dabbing the tip of the finger to the column. So the exactly 20 mark match, and then we have to use the cleaning method to wipe out the excess blood from the pipette. Now next is the hemoglobinometer dilution tube is filled by n by 10 HCl up to 20 mark on the percent side or 2 mark on the other side. We have to use exact to 20% mark or 2 mark on the other side, so that the reading would be accurate. Otherwise, if we use slight inaccuracy in the filling of the n by 10 HCl at up to 2 mark or 20 mark, it will be inaccurate and hemoglobin concentration of the given sample will be inaccurate. Something we have to remember about filling the hemoglobin pipette, that we do not want to use we have to keep in mind that when we use the hemoglobin pipette, we must take care of using that pipette, that when we suck the blood from in capillary tube, that air bubble should not be present in the capillary tube, and also whenever we try to use the capillary action of the capillary tube, the complete from up to 0 starting to 20 mark or 20 microliter mark, there must be no air bubble in that particular capillary. Only blood should be there in the capillary. If there is a bubble in the capillary, you must remove all the bubbles and completely fill the capillary with only and only blood. The pipette is then dipped into n by 10 HCl contained in the hemoglobinometer tube and blown gently into the tube, and the pipette is washed out several times with acid solution. The contents are mixed well and left for 5 to 10 minutes for hemolysis or maximum development of the color. Now in the next process, whenever we take the hemoglobin tube and fill it with up to 2 marks by n by 10 HCl, and after taking the hemoglobin pipette and marking the blood for up to 20 mm mark, now what we have to do, that we have to put the blood into the hemoglobin tube, which also contains the n by 10 HCl up to 20 or 2 mark in that particular tube. After putting the blood up into that, we have to wash out the pipette and wait for up to 5 to 10 minutes for the hemolysis process, so that maximum color can be found in the hemoglobin tube. After the tube, if the color is found, we have to go to the next step. Then the next step will be then distilled water is added drop by drop, mixing between each addition with the help of stirrer instead of the tube being inverted. until the color matches the steroid should be kept above the level of mixture. So in the next step, when acid emitting is formed in the hemoglobin tube, we have to add drop by drop distilled water. So the distilled water, after adding the distilled water, we have to mix the solution with the steroid. So we can compare the already given fixed color sample with our hemoglobin tube sample. So whenever the level of both the color is matched, then the hemoglobin concentration can be noted and finally described as the hemoglobin gram percent, hemoglobin percent in gram or gram per deciliter, milligram per deciliter. After the color of the mixture has matched with that of the standard, the tube is taken out of the comparator. So after the color is properly matched in the comparator, the tube must be taken out of the comparator and the stirrer is removed from the tube, and the lower level of the minus both in percent as well as gram per 100 ml is noted on milligram per deciliter is noted. For the given sample, it can be for males it can be from 12 to 16, or in females it can be from 10 to 14 milligram per deciliter. The result is expressed as gram of hemoglobin per 100 ml of blood. If the result is expressed in percentage, it should always be mentioned as to what is meant by percent in the term of gram per 100 ml of the blood, because percent in cases of percent variable, that is Hardin's 100% indicates 14.8 gram, Sahil's 7.3 grams and Helin's 40.5 gram per 100 ml of blood. Inference. It is seen whether hemoglobin content of the blood is normal, below normal significance anemia can be present, or above normal significance polycythemia can be present. Errors in giving higher results. In which situation we can get the higher results in hemoglobin estimation. First, blood taken is more than 20 microliter. If in hemoglobin pipette we take more than 20 mm blood, then there will be higher result. Blood at the tip of the pipette has not been wiped out. So if we don't wipe out the blood at the pipette, at the mouth of the tip of the pipette, then there will be some extra blood at the dropping at that time when we mix the blood with N/10 HCl. The mixture has not been matched, or matching has been done with a faded brown color. If a comparator is defective, then we have to take higher, or we can get an error in higher results. Errors giving lower results. When we can count the lower result by using this hemoglobinometer method. First is blood taken is less than 20 mm. This is obviously very easy, that if we don't use up to 20 microliter of mark, 20 milliliter mark, then there will be low result in the hemoglobin percentage. If blood is not free flowing but has been squeezed out of the finger, then we can get the lower result on the hemoglobin percent. Sufficient time has not been allowed for maximum development of color. If we use fastly and do the science hemoglobin method experiment very fastly, then the proper time has not been given for the color to develop, and faded color may develop, and it may cause the giving lower results. It has not been properly mixed, simply, and it has not been properly matched. Both are the manual error, and it can be present at the time for the experimenter or the person or the student who is doing the experimenter. They don't match it properly, or they don't mix it properly. Both can cause the giving the lower results of the hemoglobin estimation. Normal hemoglobin percent per 100 ml may variable figure different in two sexes. At birth, it maybe 23 or male, female 23 gram per 100 liter or milligram per deciliter. At first viewing, it can be 15.5 to 15.5 in male and female per gram per deciliters. At third month to 24th month, it can be 12.5 to 12.5 in both male and female. And child at puberty may be 13 plus minus 1 or 13 plus minus 1 in female. And adults it can be 16 or 14. And old age it can be 14 or 14. As hemoglobin directly related to the RBC count, hence physiological variation are same as in the RBC counts. So this is the experiment where we can find the estimation of hemoglobinometer by Sagan's hemoglobinometer. So I hope you are easily understand what is the theoretical and principles behind the estimation of hemoglobin, what is acid hematine method, how acid hematine is formed after mixing blood with N/10 HCl, acid hematine is formed and the color is matched after with the comparator, and when the comparator color is exactly matched, the total number in the tube has been noted down to find